Up for the visiting New York Mets. The Mets, by the way, in this series, 10 for 30 with runners in scoring position. They've had a big month of August. They'll lead it off with Jeff McNeil, who got a day off yesterday. We'll talk more about this Mets lineup as we continue tonight. It's McNeil, Alonso, and Conforto to lead things off for New York against the 25-year-old Zach Eflin on the mound for Philadelphia tonight.
Zach Eflin coming off one of his best starts of the season against Miami, and something he did was actually flip the usage of his fastball, going a lot more to the much more comfortable sinker instead of the four seam. See if he comes out with the same game plan against the Mets tonight.
Yeah, the numbers in that last start really good. 2 earned runs in 6 innings, earned a 9-3 win, and we are underway in Philly tonight. Well, the Mets got here on Friday, and they were just a handful of outs away from losing a 7th straight game. 9 outs away before they came to life thanks to Todd Frazier on Friday night. So the dialogue around the Mets now is much different than it would have been just 48 hours earlier.
Coming off being swept by the Cubs, swept by the Braves. And at this point, and we showed the wild card standings, I mean, you're 3.5 games back. The Phillies are 3 games back. Everyone they had played up until this point were the teams they were fighting to get to that wild card. From here, it does get a little bit easier, though, Matt.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Jeff McNeil to start the ball game tonight.
Matty, for the Mets, it's been 3 seasons in 1. They've been really bad. They've been really great. And they've been so-so as of late. Now, they have a chance tonight to finish the sweep, and word is that Cano may be back on Tuesday or Wednesday. That should get him going again.
Little chopper for Cesar Hernandez, and that's the first out of the ball game. That'll bring up a guy who in the minds of many has already won National League Rookie of the Year. Few would argue Pete Alonso has been outstanding. Won the home run derby at the All-Star game, and it hasn't stopped there. Set a National League Rookie home run record when he hit his 40th, and perhaps more impressively, a Mets single-season home run record when he struck for his 42nd against the Cubs on Tuesday night. A share of that National League home run lead with LA's Cody Bellinger at the start of play tonight. Oh, he's just taken the lead. Number 43 for Pete Alonso.
And Matt, Pete Alonso, maybe not thinking Rookie of the Year, but maybe MVP, and an MVP type swing here. Ready to go. First pitch, sinking fastball, running in. Great legs, swinging down, and home run number 43.
Alex, we talked to him yesterday, and he said, look, I know Eflin is a sinker ball pitcher. He's going to try to get me in. He said that was a pitch that he was going to look for early. He did it there, and he got exactly the location, the pitch that he wanted.
1-0 pitch to Michael Conforto is swung on and missed. And would you believe that Cody Bellinger just homered in Phoenix? so they've each struck for their 43rd within about 5 minutes of one another. And Alonso's making an assault on Aaron Judge's rookie home run record, as you just saw. Now 9 shy of tying that mark. We're going to do some interesting comparisons a little bit later on tonight between the way Pete Alonso has begun his career and the start to Aaron Judge's career. And there are some numbers that might catch some New York baseball fans by surprise. 2 balls and 2 strikes meanwhile to Michael Conforto. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. We'll start with this. Entering tonight through 134 games to start a career. more homers, more RBIs, fewer strikeouts than Aaron Judge.
And impressive in those numbers on a baseball field that's a lot friendlier for pitchers. So the fact that they're even, and Alonso in this chart is actually better in the first season. It's very, very impressive. You see the home run right here. It's all about the legs for Alonso. Great legs. You see the back knee and a very simple stroke. Much like a great golfer. Not a lot of tension, but a lot of power.
Exit velocity 96 miles an hour.
You didn't expect us to talk over the launch angle graphic, did you?
God forbid.
That is all you. Here's Wilson Ramos, and as impressive as Pete Alonso has been of late, you can certainly say the same about Wilson Ramos, who carries a 24-game hitting streak into this one tonight.
And not all 24 games are created equal. I mean, here's a guy who's not going to leg out a lot of infield hits. He's doing it in dramatic fashion, pinch hitting, and not with the long ball, but with hitting the ball the other way.
Little roller out to second for Hernandez that'll wrap up the side in the first. Not before Pete Alonso gets the scoring started in Philly. His 43rd of the year makes it 1-0 Mets.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
Two home runs tonight. I'd like to see a hat trick. I don't know about you.
Goldschmidt, high drive, out to left. You bet he's done it! 3 home runs!
And they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man. Shoulder to the plate. And the plate, Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Rivera sets and deals. Strike 3, ball game over. Yankees win. The greatest closer in history now has the most saves in history.
Muncy flies one in the air to left center. Back at the wall, and it's gone!
Wasn't too far away from that target. 1-0 Mets on the Alonso homer. Let's get you right to the Phillies Taco Bell starting lineup. Here's how Gabe Kapler aligns the home side to try to avoid a sweep tonight. Phillies, by the way, just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position in the loss yesterday. Their never-ending search for a leadoff hitter continues. Corey Dickerson gets the opportunity today. He's hit safely in 5 in a row. Harper's hit safely in 8 straight. Hoskins, the hope is he's trying to come around, and he's 5 for his last 10. Cesar Hernandez with good numbers against the Mets this year. The switch hitter batting 6th. For a Phillies lineup looking for the magic formula down the stretch, and they'll have the 28-year-old all-star Marcus Stroman to try to deal with tonight.
Yeah, the Duke Devil Grad has a fastball, a cutter, a sinker, a slider, and a changeup, and he is a great defender, shortstop who pitches, Gold Glove winner, holds on runners well, and a fantastic competitor.
Dickerson, Realmuto, and Harper in the Philly half of the first, and Corey Dickerson with a first ball swing and one that gets over the glove of Juan Lagares. Dickerson on his way into second on a first pitch double to open the first inning.
Phillies take a punch and give one right here on the first pitch sinker. Dickerson doing exactly what he's supposed to do with that ball, staying on top of it and driving it to left center field.
Juan Lagares got actually a bad read, and he's in for his defense. Usually reads the ball so well off the bat. You watch him here, he goes to his side instead of going back. He takes like 3 steps to his right. I don't know if he ends up making that catch, but normally he'll drop step and get to that a lot quicker.
So a runner in scoring position before an outs recorded. Now it's JT Realmuto over his last 8 at the plate. The Phillies have to like their chances to plate that run. Realmuto, Harper, and Hoskins with a runner at second and nobody out. For Marcus Stroman, his last start came on Tuesday against the Cubs. 6 innings of work, gave up 4 earned on 6 hits, ended up with a 5-2 loss in that game. Part of an uneven start to his Mets tenure. This is his 6th Mets start tonight, an ERA near 5 in the previous 5. And his 1-1 to Realmuto swung on and missed.
You know, with Bryce Harper on deck, he's the best player on your team. He's been red hot. For Realmuto, you have one goal and one goal only. You've got to get that runner to third base and let the big guy come up in an RBI situation, especially with the sinker ball. The options early were to bunt or to hit the ball the other way or drive it the other way.
Trying to stay alive in a 2-strike count, and it's still 1-2.
But this is where you want to really think small, and you get a ground ball to second, you get a guy over, no matter how you do it. Usually the manager won't give you a sign. He says do it however you want to do it. Have Bryce Harper come out, sac fly. Now you have 1-1. Everybody wins. Don't try to do too much. Take the layup if they give it to you.
It was interesting, though, one of the things Gabe Kapler talked to us pregame when we asked about the situational hitting, and he said a lot of times in these situations, the goal is to try to hit the ball to the right side to advance the runner. He's like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the ground ball to second base when I want my hitters to think line drive up the middle, put their most athletic swing on the ball, and good results will happen.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Especially just early in the game, you really want to give your players the trust and the freedom to say, hey, Joe Torre used to tell me, hey, hit a ball in left center or right center, but hit it in the seats. Don't move anybody over. That's how you move them over. And as a young player, they may tell you, your choice, but make sure you get them over. Bunt them or hit them over.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes with nobody out and a runner at second. And he gets Realmuto to pop up. Alonso's got it for out number 1. And that'll bring up Bryce Harper, who's had a big couple of weeks. He and his wife Kayla announcing the birth of their son, Crew Aaron Harper, born on August 22nd. Monday against the Pirates, a solo homer to right in his first game back from paternity leave. And then yesterday, baby Crew paid a visit to the ballpark.
Phillies talked about how cool it was that he brought Crew around the clubhouse, introduced him to all his teammates.
So here's Harper in the midst of an 8-game hitting streak, and with big numbers in situations just like this one, he is a .366 batter this year with runners in scoring position. Tried to hold up and went around 0-1.
That was a nasty slider. Bryce Harper even smiling, the late movement on that. You're going to see it look like a strike the entire way. Remember, this is a guy who normally throws low in the zone anyway, and that's why Bryce Harper unable to hold up.
And with Realmuto failing to get the run over to third base, is a completely different at bat for Bryce Harper, now needing a base hit to get an RBI versus just a fly ball, sac fly.
0-2. There is quite a bit of the unknown in this matchup for the Phillies lineup tonight. Only 2 members of their starting lineup have any previous experience against Marcus Stroman. Harper tried to hold on again, and Stroman strikes him out on 3 pitches.
And this is one that Stroman's going to put a nice note in the back of his head. The slider, 2 of them with 2 ugly swings, one to start him and one to finish him. That type of swing tells you that Bryce is not picking that up. Here are the 3 pitches. First a slider, check swing. Sinker, slider, slider. And really, really uncomfortable takes against Stroman.
As Harper has seen all year, not one of those pitches was a strike.
Right.
There's Rhys Hoskins now. It was an abbreviated game 2 of the series for Hoskins yesterday. He was ejected from the ball game by yesterday's home plate umpire Will Little, who's over at third today, for not only arguing a called strike 3, but taking off a helmet and a batting glove in disgust and kind of depositing them on the ground near the feet of the home plate umpire. And perhaps more so than just the calls, maybe a culmination of frustrations for Hoskins, who has not had the same kind of success since the All-Star break that he did in the season's first half. Phillies are hopeful that he's coming around, however. He goes reaching for that one. 5 for his last 10 at the start of play tonight, but falling behind here, a ball and 2 strikes.
One thing Marcus Stroman did on that first strike that he got to Hoskins, he actually freezed him up because he peaked him. And you'll see Marcus Stroman change his delivery, mix in pauses, so they're different things with his front foot. And on the first strike, he kind of paused, went to go, paused again, and then Hoskins lifted up his foot, didn't know what to do, ended up just taking the strike.
One-two to Hoskins. It's punched into the opposite field, a base hit. Dickerson being waved around. Throw home is in. Plenty of time to get him. Not even close, as it turns out, at home plate. Mets in run prevention defense mode. Still 1-0 New York.
Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the one. He's going to be held to a double. He's trying for 3. He's going to do it. Get down. He's in there. Out on the run is Liriano, and he makes the catch. An amazing catch. Sails the throw back to first base, and this is in time on the fly from Ramon Liriano.
Line drive back up the middle, base hit for Christian Yelich. Deep down the right field line and gone.
And Yelich comes through again.
It's a cycle for Christian Yelich.
Deep to left field. This ball's high. It's deep. Number 600 for Jim Thome. Welcome to the 600 Club.
Very nice, Jim Thome.
Here's a ground ball right side. Could do it. The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history. And building to this moment, world champions.
2-0 pitch. Swinging. There it is. Here comes Osmus. The start and tied. Mitch wants to make it a double. He didn't get the trademark, but he did get 3,000 hits.
Joe Panik leads off the Mets half of inning number 2. Panik, Rosario, and Frazier against Zach Eflin with the 1-0 Mets lead preserved on a great throw by Michael Conforto to nab a would-be score. Ball and a strike to Joe Panik. 20 games as a Met, and the former Giant has hit .277 in his New York uniform. He's had a good series with a couple of doubles. 2 balls and a strike.
I talked to him yesterday, Matty, and he said his home is only 15 minutes from here. It's actually, he never left his home, even living in San Francisco. He always had a condo there. He's like, to be able to come home, you know, where I grew up, fans, family, friends, everybody. He's like, there's just a different feel when you come home. The big grin on his face, and I'm sure, you know, change of scenery, getting out of San Francisco.
An all-star back there in 2015. Panik sends the ball well struck out to left center. Adam Hazley there tonight for route number 1. We mentioned earlier that Cody Bellinger homered within about 2 minutes of Pete Alonso's 43rd. And for Cody Bellinger, his 43rd of the year coming in Arizona. Dodgers trying to avoid being swept in a 4-game series by the Diamondbacks for the first time in franchise history. It's a 3-3 game in extra innings in the desert. It was a first homer for Bellinger in 12 straight games. That was his longest homerless stretch of the season. And here's Amed Rosario now.
And both those guys at the top of that list doing it in pitcher-friendly parks. Dodger Stadium and, of course, Citi Field in Queens.
Rosario 2 for 5 yesterday in the Mets win. And a guy who, for whatever reason, has had his best nights away from the aforementioned ballpark in Queens, Alex. He's been great on the road this year.
Yeah, sometimes you just find a bit of a comfort, you know. I used to play with a lot of my teammates who would have a lot of kids at home and said, I just can't get any sleep at home. They go on the road and they can get, you know, I slept 12 hours. I'm ready to go. And sure enough, they come out and have a big series.
2-2 from Eflin as a chopper over the mound from shortstop is Kingery. And there were 2 gone to start the second.
Of course, I'm not sure what the reason is for Rosario, but I'll tell you, he's a very smart young man. Parents are educators from Dominican Republic and comes from a fantastic family, mom, dad, sister. But I know that Robinson Cano has been really proud of him and has been a big influence in his development.
Two gone, bases empty. A perfect night to start the month of September. Todd Frazier had been 0 for 16 at the start of this series and was very much in need of a big night. It certainly came on Friday in the form of not 1 but 2 3-run homers. Continued yesterday with 2 more RBIs.
Hitter and a clutch hitter, and he's a winning player. And what I mean by that is you'll see his home run here. I mean, he's a guy that whatever it takes to win, he can do it on both sides of the plate. He can hit, he can field, and he is A+ in the clubhouse.
I think the thing that I took away the first 2 games, obviously that big night, both those home runs coming late against the Phillies, but defensively, what he's done in this series. And he had a huge get up, like Michael Jordan style jump, bases loaded grab early in the game last night. And that's really why he's in the lineup.
Ask and you shall receive.
This ball was through. I mean, you saw it out. And the height that he got. I mean, look at him get up.
probably a game-tying, saving game there on the road. And you know, when he was in the Bronx, he left such a great, he was such an influential player for the young players.
A strikeout victim in his first try here tonight, and a 1-2-3 second for Zach Eflin. Still 1-0 Mets.
Rivera sets and deals. Strike three. Ball game over. Yankees win. The greatest closer in history now has the most saves in history.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
Well, that is 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson. And his first pitch was not great. Just a bit outside.
That was Curtis Jackson. I don't even like when he comes around. You know, I don't even want him around here. 50 Cent is the best.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it!
Malone looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one! Deep left field! Back goes Upton! Back near the wall! It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened!
.949 now in Atlanta, 6:49 in Arizona, and a 2-2 to Perez. Swing and a miss.
Baseball on ESPN. This telecast is presented by Taco Bell. And Marcus Stroman back to work for a second inning tonight, having faded a single and a double in the first inning. And Marcus Stroman arriving in Flushing, Queens just prior to the deadline by way of something of a surprise deal. I don't think a lot of us who kind of watch from this perspective thought, all right, Toronto sitting on this very marketable chip here, Marcus Stroman, who could change the course of a pennant race. Not a lot of us had him earmarked for Flushing, Queens. We all thought he was going to the Bronx. Shows you how much we know.
I think being around the team and, you know, being around Brodie Van Wagenen and the front office, I mean, you look at Zach Wheeler, Jason Vargas at the time, knowing that they were both going to be free agents, looking at the trade market, who was going to be up for free agency at the end of the season. I mean, the Mets definitely had to go and get a 3 and 5 starter.
Brad Miller goes and gets a ball and sends it out to the opposite field to tie the ball game in the second. Brad Miller wasn't even in the original starting lineup tonight.
Brad Miller with his 6th home run here, taking this little slider, staying inside of it and driving it to left center field.
Slider just hung. I mean, you saw it to Bryce Harper, right? Alex, the difference of the depth of that pitch when it's going and when it just stays flat. It does it right here to Brad Miller at 84 miles an hour, and he just tees off.
A 1-1 ball game, a couple of solo shots on either side, and now it's Cesar Hernandez. Mentioning Miller not being in the starting lineup tonight, Gene Segura was the original starter tonight. He was penned in at about 2:30 when lineups were announced, but due to the passing of his grandmother in the Dominican Republic, Gene was obviously given the day off today. He is flying to the Dominican as we speak. Our condolences go out to he and his family. He was very close to his grandmother, we understand. So Brad Miller was pressed into duty, and lo and behold, he has produced a solo homer to tie the game.
Well, and where he was put into the lineup, I mean, being behind the big bats of Real Muto, Harper, and Hoskins. Brad Miller holding his own with the home run to lead out the second.
Ball and 2 strikes meanwhile to Cesar Hernandez. And strikeout number 2 for Marcus Stroman.
And here's the slider gone bad. And a slider gone bad, all it needs is 84 miles an hour. It acts like a BP fastball right down the middle. Not the sharp, nasty one he threw to Harper for the strikeout. And there you go, Jess.
You can say it. You can say launch angle. You can do it. Come on, Alex. 31 degrees. He got under it, that's for sure.
The only thing I think of when I see that graphic is Top Golf. And how bad I am. 1 out, 1 on now for Scott Kingery. You know, that homer also gives us another layer into the Stroman conversation. And to get back to the Mets starter tonight, that's the 6th homer that Marcus Stroman has allowed in 5+ starts as a Met, after allowing only 15 in 26 starts in Toronto. So whether it's a league adjustment, whether it's Rogers Center versus the NL East, the home run has been more of a problem in his new uniform than his old.
And you see it. I mean, he's got not a good sinker. He's got a great sinker. And the slider, the home run. Usually home runs come on your secondary and tertiary pitches. If you're Marcus Stroman, when the money's on the line, go to your sinker, because that's your money pitch.
2 balls and a strike to count to Scott Kingery. Kingery with a line shot, base hit into left. That's the 4th hit against Stroman in an inning and a third tonight.
And that's what's been interesting for Marcus Stroman in a Mets uniform. As you mentioned, 6 home runs, that being the 6th tonight, only 10 with the Blue Jays over the first half of the season. So players are getting a hold, they're getting more barrel, but he's had more swing and miss. His stuff has actually played more, and you saw that in the Harper at bat. Is you'll see the stuff, you'll see the swing and miss, he'll get the ground balls, and then yet he also will hang more pitches and get hit harder than he did in the first half of the season.
1 in, 1 out, 1 on now for Adam Hazley, the rookie center fielder. Hazley has responded to regular play this week, 7 for his last 17. You see the note, multiple hit lines in 3 of his last 4. Phillies will run, in particular with players like Kingery, who's 10 of 14 on the base pass. Turned into a nice crowd tonight.
I was here for the game last night. It never really got very full. And tonight, Labor Day weekend, a lot of families.
It's a lively crowd, too. You can tell they're ready to explode. They want something to cheer about. And in the home run, you heard them. One of the great fan bases in all of sports. And I remember being here in 2009 for the World Series. And 3 things stuck out to me. One was how great Cliff Lee was, the #1 starter. Chase Babe Ruth Utley seemed like, I think he had 5 or 20 home runs. And then it was a fan base. It was really a 10th man. It was a great advantage. I remember having a conversation, Jess, with Derek Jeter, and we were this close, and I was talking to him like this, and he couldn't hear me, and he said, "I can't hear you." I said, "Well, then read my lips."
And you guys are
no new
apart.
taxes. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Hazley, and it's a full count, 3-2.
And you know, when it comes to the runner should be running here, when it comes to field conditions, batter's eye, defensively, offensively, pitchers love pitching here. Everything is just well done in this stadium.
They will even boo their own players, though. I mean, they love their baseball.
It's passion.
Very passionate.
See if Hazley gets a green light with 1 away and a full count. He stays put, and it's ball 4.
Yeah, guys, we talked with Marcus Stroman yesterday about playing on the big stage, something he's done well in the past. But, Alex, you can speak to this. Guys who are traded in midseason, they face a different kind of pressure. Through the years, I've had them tell me after the fact, yeah, I was trying to prove myself to these new teammates, and I realized after the fact I was putting a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah, and it can go both ways, but I've seen guys be very mediocre and come to a clubhouse and just go off and play really, really well. And the opposite is true if you put too much pressure on yourself. But what I found is that when you come into a clubhouse and a team that has the potential to go the entire way, a lot easier than playing in a team that was perhaps, down in the last place.
And that's what he wanted, Alex. I mean, he wanted to be on a team that was going to compete, he wanted a chance to get them to the postseason, and he wanted to come back to New York. I mean, this is something he said. Now, granted, in Yankee Stadium at the time, New York is like the mecca of the world. I love the excitement. And remember, this is a guy with a ton of passion that craves that pressure, that wants that emotion. New York is really the home that he wanted to come back to.
Zach Eflin trying just not to ground into a double play, now behind 0-2 after a couple of failed sac bunt attempts. And part of the reason Eflin wants another plate appearance here for someone else is because Corey Dickerson, who's on deck next, is the one guy in this lineup that's seen a lot of Marcus Stroman, and he's had a lot of success against him.
I think the bunch should still remain on even with 2 strikes here.
Kingery and Hazley aboard with 1 in and 1 away. Swinging away, lines it to left. Playable for McNeil for out number 2. More great Major League Baseball action coming up on ESPN. A holiday doubleheader on Labor Day tomorrow. Rangers and Yankees at 1 Eastern. Masahiro Tanaka playing host to Mike Minor. And the Astros visiting Miller Park, and the Milwaukee Brewers with Garrett Cole looking for his 16th winner of the year. A week from tonight, Jess, Buster, Alex, and I will be in Boston for the Yankees and Red Sox. Note the special start time a week from tonight, 8 Eastern, due to the U.S. Open men's finals happening prior to it. Baseball tonight starting at 7 Eastern a week from tonight. So here's Dickerson. Here are the numbers we speak of, and they include the double that he opened the first inning with tonight.
Matty, when you're winning, Jess, it doesn't really matter. Early in this game already, you've had 2 Phillies miscues. One, Realmuto could not get Dickerson to third base for Harper, and now missing a bunt there. Even though he had a nice line drive, your job is to get this to a second and third situation where a base hit can make it 3-1. 2 mistakes early in the game. Oh!
And a pickoff play that goes bad into center field.
And this is a deadlight play, which is usually a play that's put on by the shortstop and acknowledged by the pitcher. It's a timing play. And obviously Rosario and Stroman not on the same page there. Something you'll talk in between innings. Get it straight. No big deal. 2 outs.
Error charge to Stroman. So it's been a little bit of everything that has conspired against Stroman to start this one. A homer, one of the 4 hits, a walk, an error. And his 0-1 to Dickerson is swatted into right field, a base hit. Kingery scores. Hazley being held. No way are they going to test Conforto again. 2-1 Philadelphia.
Corey Dickerson has been so good here, fighting off this ball coming in at him, just muscles it. Been so good with the absence of McCutchen. The double in the first at bat, and now the clutch base hit with 2 outs.
Hazley getting held up at third base all the way, almost 3/4 of the way down. Your point, Matty, after getting hosed from the Conforto arm, he would have been hosed again at home. Almost looked like Stroman was trying to jump for Pete Alonso to get that line drive.
So now Realmuto, who popped up with a runner in scoring position in his first try tonight. Marcus Stroman just has not had that kind of automatic dominant night that Toronto fans saw so much of the last few years. Though he does escape any further damage here A homer and an RBI single, however, have given the Phillies an early lead at home.
Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. Sox one out to center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes deep in his first at bat as a New York Met.
Looking for hit number 1 from Franchi Cordero.
He struck him out. The Dodgers have thrown a combined no-hitter.
And on the 13th and final strikeout of the game.
1-0 looking for a fastball.
In the air, right center field. The first one in the Phillies uniform is a bomb into the second deck for Bryce Harper. The Phils lead it 7-4.
Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got him! It's finally happened! A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner! It was done by the King!
T-Mobile earlier today in Toronto. In case you missed it, Justin Verlander throws his third career no-hitter to lead the Astros in a 2-0 win over the Blue Jays. 14 strikeouts. The only base runner was a first-inning walk issued to Kevin Biggio, ironically. 120 pitches, and it's Justin Verlander who becomes the first pitcher to throw 2 no-hitters as a visitor in the same park, along with some of the notes you see on the screen there. Justin Verlander just continuing his case, his march, his assault, if you will, on the Hall of Fame. So let's take a look at our current standings in the hunt for October, brought to you by Geico. Verlander, Cole and company pitching the Astros to a breezy lead atop the West. Same with the Yankees, and the Twins starting to distance themselves from the pack. Really, the Indians in the Central. Tampa Bay and Cleveland have the 2 AL wild cards. Oakland a half game back after a heartbreaking loss in the Bronx today. And Boston, despite all of its problems, just 5 out of the second wild card spot.
Still in the conversation, and they could make a run. We've got them next weekend against the Yankees. Excited we have the AL wild card game as well, but what 2 teams?
Yeah. 2 of 3 is the convention of wisdom as Juan Lagares sends the ball out to right center field. Harper with a mini jump to make the catch at the scoreboard.
Bryce Harper has been such a better defender in a Phillies uniform. Granted, it's a different ballpark. It's a smaller ballpark, but just the effort, the angle, him understanding the warning track, going out for the jump. Knowing his home ballpark, being able to make this grab, I don't know if he makes that catch last year. And a lot of that has to do with jump, comfort in the ballpark, when to be able to make that play. That last second jump to get it before going to the wall.
Six in a row retired by Zach Eflin after the homer by Alonso. And now it's Stroman. And Stroman sends a chopper to third for Brad Miller. And that number 2. Some would say it was fate for Marcus Stroman to end up in a New York Mets uniform. After all, he had one on as a baby.
Oh, nice.
That's a good pick. Old school jacket. Smile. He has talked a lot about coming back to New York and friends, family, and I wonder, of course he's not going to admit it, but how amped he was, especially those first couple starts, knowing, I mean, how much he's wanted this, how much he wants to help the Mets, and being a sinker ball pitcher, that's one of the hardest things you can do, is be amped and then try to get that movement.
There's Jeff McNeil now. He grounded out to start the ball game as per usual, swinging at the first pitch. He is statistically the most aggressive first pitch swinger in the land. He'll offer at the first pitch in exactly half of his plate appearances. 50%. One hopper for the right side, Hernandez. And that's 8 in a row after the homer retired by Zach Eflin. Still 2-1 Phillies.
Pitch, swinging, there it is. Here comes Osmus to start it tied. Mitch wants to make it a double. He didn't get the trademark, but he did get 3,000 hits.
Well, that is 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson. And his first pitch was not great. Just a bit outside.
That was Curtis Jackson. I don't even like when he comes around. I don't even want him around here. 50 Cent is the best.
Two home runs tonight.
I'd like to see a hat trick. I don't know about you.
Goldschmidt, high drive, out to left. You bet he's done it! 3 home runs!
That's number 30. Where will this one land? Come close again. Are you kidding me? Those aren't just home runs. Those are moonshots.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
In the air to deep left field for Tatis Jr. His first home run in the majors is a 2-run blast. There's contact, and then there's that.
Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the...
Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Stroman versus Harper in their first meeting tonight as Marcus struck out Bryce on 3 pitches. Harper leads off the third and will give it another crack with his Phillies on top 2-1.
And Matty, it was a sinker, the filthy slider, and filthier slider.
Bryce trying to extend an 8-game hitting streak tonight. First pitch lines it to Panic.
And that swing is telling you there by Bryce Harper, I do not want to get to the slider. Let me get the first cookie and put it in play. Little sinker here, 89 miles an hour. Nice controlled swing, not trying to do too much. Liking the approach. So much torque there. And good contact.
It is amazing, though, Alex, his version of a controlled swing would be so many other hitters of all-out max effort. And that's like his 80%.
Here's Rhys Hoskins now. He singled in the first, and it looked like that single was going to be good enough to score a run, but Michael Conforto threw out Corey Dickerson at home. And it kept it a 1-0 Mets lead for the time being.
Right.
A ball and a strike to count to Rhys Hoskins. .103 walks and 25 homers this year. The only other player in Phillies franchise history with 100 walks and 25 homers before September was Mike Schmidt in 1983.
Good company.
And Rhys would be happy to hear that, but he'd be happier to hear that the slugging percentage and some of the productivity since the All-Star break would get back to the standard levels, because for whatever reason the second half has not gone as expected.
It hasn't, but he is a man of superstitions. You see the mustache he's trying to grow out the last few games.
Reaches for a slider, and that's number 3 for Stroman. ESPN's telecast of Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by Boost Mobile. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save. And the man who hit that homer to lead things off in the second, Brad Miller, digs in with 2 gone here in the third.
Marcus Stroman mixes up his deliveries. He did it again there. And you'll actually see, especially these high leg kick guys are the ones he kind of messes with the most. And you saw Brad Miller start his leg kick, pause his own leg kick, because Stroman did the same, and then that last one he just quick pitched.
Quick pitch at 94, and last at bat you saw the slider for a home run. If you're Miller, you got to be thinking fastball right back up the middle.
Two balls and a strike. Yeah, Stroman is a bit of, not a bit of, he is an improvisation artist. Kind of a Johnny Cueto light, if you will.
Just watch him warm up. I mean, you won't see the same warm up twice, which is so unusual for pitchers who are all about routine. You'll see Marcus Stroman throw left-handed, throw it over his back.
Oh. And a base hit for Miller, making him 2 for 2 on a night that he wasn't supposed to start. Homer double for Brad Miller.
And with Stroman in his routine, it's not because he doesn't take it seriously. In fact, there's few that I think take it as seriously as Marcus Stroman. Remember, he's 5'7", so there's so much about his preparation that he considers and thinks about. This was him just tonight before the game. And again, you won't see this in his next start doing the same thing, but he works on his balance, he'll work on his dekes, he'll do all kinds of different stretches. But again, there'll be times he'll put the ball in his left hand, he'll kiss the ball multiple times before he throws it.
That stuff looks like it's right out of the David Carradine collection. The Kung Fu moves. Patience, grasshopper.
You know, there's a lot to unpack there with Stroman, but I mean, bottom line is, you talked about him being kind of a little bit all over the place. Spontaneity is good, not so good when you need a routine. 35 starts. The more consistent you can be, the more consistent you'll be on the mound. But facing him, he was a handful. I mean, he had one of those sinkers that you could not see rotation on, sinker or sliders. And what is frustrating for me is you see some of the sliders he's thrown, making these Phillies hitters look really bad. He has it in him. You just want a little bit more consistency.
Ball and a strike to count to Cesar Hernandez. So the strange part about the way this night has begun for Stroman, and the Mets have seen this perhaps more often than they would have guessed when they traded for him. He's recorded 8 outs tonight. 1 of them on a ground ball. And that's not the way he goes about getting his outs.
Especially if he's going good.
There's a chance for a second. Frazier gets it to first just in time. Nothing comes to the 2-out double. Pete Alonso's already homered tonight. He'll lead off the 4th in a 2-1 Phillies lead.
.949 now in Atlanta, 6:49 in Arizona, and a 2-2 to Perez. Swing and a miss, and Randy Johnson has thrown a perfect game.
Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike 3, it's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship. They win the World Series, 4-1. Can you believe it?
Pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it!
He's just keeping the ball away from Bohr the whole game. He wants to get it.
There, ball behind the back flip, and he got him. Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Now a 3-1 for Acuna. Swinging a high fly ball. Deep to left field. Way, way back. It's gone. The grandest.
He's leading the Mets 2-1. And Mickey, Marcus Stroman in Toronto didn't give up that many home runs here. It's been more of an issue. What's your thought behind that?
Yeah, I just think the height of his pitches has gotten to him a little bit. You know, we're seeing a little bit tonight. You know, I'm sure he'd like to be a little bit below the knees. You know, he'll keep on battling. He's done it all season. Every start that he's had for us, he's given us a chance to win, and that's what you want from your starter.
Pete Alonso, another home run. What's going to be your takeaway from this season?
You know what? That this guy has big-time power. You know, he mishit that ball, and it still went out by a lot. But he can really hit. He stays within himself and puts good swings on the ball.
Mickey, thanks. Matt, back to you.
Mishit that ball. That was halfway up the tank. And that's a miss hit. That's how big and strong this kid is. And Alonso leads things off in the fourth. And by the way, that homer for Pete Alonso in the top of the first was his first in 36 at-bats here in this ballpark. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but this was the place that he had gone the longest without hitting a homer, and it's all relative for a guy in his first run through the league as a rookie. Does he add a single to it? Yes, he does. A base hit back up the middle. Let's show you the miss hit once again.
And is the first pitch swinging fastball in off the plate. And it came in and it went out.
Can I just respectfully disagree with Mickey Callaway? That's no miss hit. He smoked that ball.
Although it's interesting, did you see how far up the barrel that ball was where it made contact on the bat? It was like that point where the pine tar is.
Maybe that's what he was talking about. Okay, if that's the case, I buy it. But I'm just looking at the results.
He was way below average on his normal exit velocity.
Ah, yes. Here's Michael Conforto.
This guy.
Little check swing roller. Taylor made for two. Hernandez to Kingery, back to Hoskins. They get them both.
Check swing here. Conforto wants to take this one back. Taylor made double play. And a nice turn.
See, for me, that's a miss hit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Just whiff. That's just a...
That check swing, double play there with no outs, that's the kind of stuff that'll make you lose a lot of sleep.
I think you're going to lose sleep.
Yeah, well, I did that so often. You just want to, like, it's just, yeah. Sleepless nights in Seattle.
Here's Wilson Ramos trying to extend that notable 24-game streak tonight. And we started talking about this in his previous plate appearance, guys, that the fact that he's been pressed into duty on no fewer than 3 occasions as he extended it as a pinch hitter. And we're probably talking about a 25-gamer now. He's on his way to second.
Wow. And a double to boot. I mean, that had to ricochet off a glove over by the tarp, hit the fence. No offense to Ramos.
Is this an easy base hit for you, Alex, or is there a chance they scored this in error?
There's a changeup right there. He hits, and for me, that's a base hit all the way. It's smoked down the line, and Miller just didn't get his glove down on time.
Still waiting on an official scorer's decision here. If you want to add some folklore to the Phillies-Mets rivalry, just call that an error.
They called it a double.
Okay. If they had called that an error, you'd be able to hear the screams here from Queens. So it is now officially a 25-game hitting streak, the longest active in baseball, the 3rd longest in history, and 6 games away from tying a franchise record. And that's from a catcher.
It's coming from a catcher. Alex made that point earlier. I mean, he's not beating out an infield hit. I mean, this is a guy who's got to earn his hits, and he has.
Well, highest percentage of ground balls in Major League Baseball. Now, if you're Billy Hamilton, that's terrific.
Yeah.
If your nickname is the Buffalo, not so much if you're an aging catcher.
And what I love, Alex, is not one of those hits was a home run. Throughout this entire streak, it's been a ton of ground balls, a ton of just making contact, finding grass.
Here's a list that is open to some subjective discussion, but the longest hitting streaks by a catcher, we've got to put the disclaimer on it by saying longest hitting streak by a player whose primary position is catcher. Bonito Santiago in 87 hit in 34 in a row. That's the number recognized as the longest.
And if you're a Mets faithful, I mean, seeing a catcher hitting in the cleanup spot has to make you think of the great Gary Carter, number 8, the kid. Not often does the catcher clean up.
3 balls and a strike to count to Joe Panik with a runner in scoring position. Full count now.
This is what Joe Panik does to a lineup that's actually the lowest in baseball pitches per plate appearance, meaning they swing a lot early in counts. Joe Panik will work the count.
The toughest player in the National League to strike out this year as well. 3-2 from Eflin. Just missed. Or did it on K-Zone 3D?
Yeah, sure did. Single ball down here. Not by much, but a good take and a professional at bat by Panik.
Before the game, we were having a conversation with JT Realmuto, the catcher for the Phillies, and he was talking about how consistent Joe West is behind the plate and how good he is behind the plate.
He was also saying, Buster, how much they look at the umpire's scouting reports. Basically what the umpire will call, will they not? And he's like, it's amazing how much they stay true. Unlike even hitters, game to game, they could go off. If they, can't hit inside, they might that game. If Joe West, fewer lower strikes than average umpire, we just saw it there. It wasn't a strike, but even if it had probably clipped it, he wouldn't have called it. Very consistent.
Ball and no strikes to Ahmed Rosario.
42nd year for Cowboy Joe West. Not a guy that shies away from any confrontation, and just a terrific umpire.
A ball and 2 strikes. Yeah, Cowboy Joe played a little football too at Elon.
I thought that was SC.
No, get the color scheme straight, Stanford. Before his days as a successful country music artist.
He's the host of a new talk show in which he interviews country music stars on Prime Country. Serious.
Nice.
Are you serious?
Wow.
I can't wait to download it.
His first guests were the Oak Ridge Boys.
Okay.
One country music legend to another, huh?
And we'll be talking a lot about Joe over the next year, I'm sure, because it looks like in 2020 could be the year when he passes Bill Clem for most games umpired by anyone in the history of baseball.
Ball and 2 strikes, meanwhile, to Ahmed Rosario. Hanging around, and it's still 1-2.
God, has he been a different player in the second half. And you can look at the offensive numbers because that's where a lot of times your eyes will take you, and that has improved a ton. But really, guys, to see the dramatic shift in his defense at shortstop, such a pivotal position for this Mets defense. Mickey Callaway telling us because he's been better defensively, that's why you've seen his offense improve.
Right back to Eflin, coming in hot too. It came in at 96 and might have come out around the same. 2 left stranded, still 2-1 Phillies.
That's number 30. Where will this one land? Come close again. Are you kidding me? Those aren't just home runs. Those are moonshot
shot.
Well, that is 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson. And his first pitch was not great. Just a bit outside.
That was Curtis Jackson. I don't even like when he comes around. I don't even want him around here. 50 Cent is the best.
Cespedes side to move. He's not going to get it. And it rolls off the side wall, and they're going to wave home Kendrick. The throw to the plate is there.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
they got it. Are you kidding me?
Wow. 2 on, 2 out. 10th inning. That's in the air to left. Here comes Fisher. Throw by Ethier. Astros win it in 10. Bugsy flies one in the air to left center. Back at the wall, and it's gone! It's over! A walk-off home run to win Game 3.
Looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one deep left field. That goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened.
2 home runs tonight. I'd like to see a hat trick. I don't know about you.
Goldschmidt, high drive, out to left. You bet he's done it. 3 home runs.
Here's the pitch. Swinging a hard hit ball inside third, base hit down the left field line. Mazzara gets the third. Adrian goes.
Bottom third of the Phillies order in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Scott Kingery, Adam Hazley, and the pitcher Zach Eflin. Back to work is Marcus Stroman. Stroman's allowed the 2 runs on a total of 6 hits through 3 innings so far tonight. He's only recorded 2 ground ball outs, as we talked about last time he was out there, and has not been very efficient with his first pitch strikes, as you can see. A ball and a strike on Scott Kingery. It's interesting when you talk about the Mets this year and the Mets historically, really, and how they generally make their hay as a postseason team with dominant starting pitching. It's a franchise hallmark, and it was thought that that would be the strength of this year's Mets squad as well. And while their starting staff is good, very good, the lineup has been much better than advertised, in particular since the All-Star break.
And I think a lot of that, Matt, has to do with Robinson Cano and his emergence right before he got hurt. Speaking to him, he told me his hand is finally healed up. And, of course, then he hurt his hamstring. Maybe back this week, but he went off. He had that big game, 3 home runs. And usually, for any team, as your best players, as your leaders go, so does your team.
I'll tell you what, though, Jeff McNeil, the season that he's had at the top of their lineup.
Back to Stroman, a terrific athlete. And if you don't think so, just ask him. He'll let you know. A quick out here to start the 4th.
One of the things that Stroman, we've talked about, he'll do a bunch of different things. He's got a sinker, a slider, but it's his timing. Watch Hoskins here. Watch him with his own front foot get fooled, as Marcus Stroman will then go to a quicker pitch. Then he'll mix up that front foot. And again, it's been a lot of the guys with the leg kick. I mean, Alex, you know this. Hitting's timing. We can talk all day about launching, the legs of velocity, all this stuff. You don't get on time, you can't hit. And that's one of the things Stroman talks about, being 5'7", and he says it loud. Hey, I'm 5'7". Name great pitchers of the past that have been 5'7" or shorter. You're going to have a hard time finding a list. So he knows that he has to use other things to his advantage to have success. His big theme actually is HDMH. Height doesn't measure heart. Something he speaks to a lot of kids about. He's got it tattooed on his wrist.
2 balls and a strike to Adam Hazley.
With the tattoo.
I mean, you got to love it. I mean, he's got a big heart. He's one of those kind of guys that when you're facing him, you're just like, oh, I cannot stand this guy. But when you talk to his teammates, he's one of the most popular guys in the clubhouse. He's colorful. He's a great guy. Very smart. We talked about being a Duke graduate. And he's just an amazing story. Look at Dustin Pedroia. There's a lot of guys that are small but have huge, huge hearts.
When you got your own catchphrase and logo, what is it?
HDMH.
HDMH. I mean, that's like you're in the Elvis category now with the TCB, the logo, taking care of business, the lightning bolt, the chain. Give it to all your Memphis Mafia guys.
Doesn't like confidence, that's for sure.
He does not like compliments.
Lack confidence.
Lack confidence. Okay.
And he told us yesterday, Matt, about how moving it was to have fans send him images of their tattoos of that HDMH that Jess referenced, and how cool that was. And it just was like, wow, that's a permanent part of that person. That's how meaningful it was to them.
In play to the right side of the infield for Alonso, and out number 2.
Buster, I'm kind of bummed because I can't play that fan club. I don't have any tattoos, so I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO.
Oh, Stroman's got a bunch.
Well, I don't have any tattoos, but any cause for the 5'7" and under guys, I'm in. As a vertically challenged person myself, I'm all about the little guy making noise like that.
Hey, I played with a guy, Joy Cora, who was a small guy, and he was just awesome. He hit over 300, played defense, did it all. Came out of Vanderbilt. Buster, you'll like that.
Yeah, but you just don't see pitchers. I mean, I get position players. Not that it's super common, but the Jose Altuves, the Pedroias, like you mentioned. But pitchers, they're always 6 feet apart. They're trees.
Good point. Good point.
And the 5'7" Marcus Stroman dispatches the Phillies in order in the 4th. Still 2-1 Philadelphia.
Looking for hit number 1 from Franchi Cordero.
He struck him out. The Dodgers have thrown a combined no-hitter.
And on the 13th and final strikeout of the game.
2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career. Here's a ground ball right side, could do it. The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history. And building to this moment, world champions.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it.
He's just keeping the ball away from Bohr the whole game. He wants to get it.
There, ball behind the back flip, and he got him. Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh. 1-0 looking for a fastball.
In the air, right center field. The first one in the Phillies uniform is a bomb into the second deck for Bryce Harper. The Phils lead it 7-4.
Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. Sox one out to center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes.
Lead the Mets 2-1, and Gabe, you guys got Corey Dickerson just before the trade deadline. What's jumped out at you about him?
Corey's made some swing adjustments since his time with Tampa Bay when he was designated for assignment. He's cut his strikeout rate down. He's become better equipped to handle the ball up in the strike zone, but he also uses the whole field and has tremendous power. It's been quick, and it's been confident. It's been a nice package at the plate so far.
Zach Eflin reinvested in his sinker. What have you seen in that change?
Yeah, we're seeing him use his 2-seamer, but we're also seeing him mix in his changeup a little bit more frequently. Also elevate his 4-seam fastball to left-handed hitters. It's been good so far. He just needs to stay efficient in the zone.
Gabe, thanks. Back to you, Matt.
Buster, thank you. And better results so far for Zach Eflin against the Mets as compared to his previous 2 starts against New York this year. Entering his 5th inning of work, having allowed just the 1 run on the Alonso homer.
Matt, there's such a difference when a pitcher, yes, he has his best pitch, but it's also the pitch he believes is his best pitch. And that's what Zach Eflin, to Buster's point and question to Dave Kapler, was It wasn't until before this last start that earlier in the season, this Philly staff wanted him to elevate and use his four-seam fastball. And he came in, he struggled, he went to the bullpen, he was sent down, and then it wasn't until this last start that he came in and said, look, it's my sinker that I have to throw more. And guys, we're talking 40% of his four-seam went to 40% of his sinker, and that's what he's done tonight. Coming into this inning, 25 sinkers to 7 of that four-seam. But it's really the conviction that he uses with that.
And you're exactly right, Jess. Conviction and confidence trumps strategy or location, any day of the week.
And he struck out Todd Frazier twice tonight in as many tries. There's one gone.
Yeah, he's got 8 outs on ground balls so far tonight. And when I asked him yesterday about what does he really like about his sinker, and he talked about the first time he played in Little League, gripping the baseball, having that sinker, the two-seam grip, and working with that, and having a lot of confidence that he's always going to be able to get movement with it, and then he'll be able to throw strikes.
One gone for Juan Lagares. Well, Zach Eflin was, coming out of high school, considered a top prospect. He was a supplemental first-round choice of the Padres, 33rd overall in 2012. Lagares sends a fly ball out to shallow left. Eflin was then traded to the Dodgers 2 years ago. And speaking of the Dodgers, we showed you a 3-3 tie in Phoenix. The Dodgers and Diamondbacks going into extra innings. We'll pay off what happened there in a moment as Marcus Stroman digs in with 2 away. It was that Jock Peterson home run that gave the Dodgers a 4-3 win. They tied it on the Bellinger homer and win it with Peterson's. Oh, 0-2 the count to Marcus Stroman. Eflin looking for his third 1-2-3 inning of the game, and he's got it on his third strikeout of the contest. 1-run lead in check for the Phillies. We've hit the middle of the night.
Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike 3, it's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship. They win the World Series 4 games to 1. Can you believe it? And he swings and drives one left center field deep. Hernandez back at the wall. Goodbye. Home run, Steve Pearce.
High fly ball into left. Back at the wall. He's got another. How about Steve Pearce?
In the air to deep left field for Tatis Jr. His first home run in the majors is a 2-run blast. There's contact, and then there's that.
9:49 now in Atlanta, 6:49 in Arizona, and a 2-2 to Perez. Swing and a miss, and Randy Johnson has thrown a perfect game. That fly ball out into center, way out of here.
Oh, Boggle, my goodness.
The throw misses a cutoff man, shoulder to the plate, and on the plate, Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
The fans are on their feet.
Now the only man in between Paxton and the history books, a former American League MVP, Josh Donaldson. To Seager, the pick, the... Back to Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. This telecast is brought to you by Taco Bell. Well, Marcus Stroman got his first 1-2-3 inning of the ball game in his most recent in the fourth, hoping for some better returns here moving forward.
Well, the difference has been his slider. When it's dirty, it is dirty. He's got Bryce Harper to strike out swinging early in his at-bat. Rhys Hoskins as well. That pitch going away, the depth, a plus pitch, but same pitch. The slider will also be a cement mixer. Hoskins with the base hit and Brad Miller with the home run. Again, we see different results off the same pitch. Mickey Callaway told Buster it's all about the height of that pitch. He wants it at his knees. When it's anything higher, it gets hit.
He's got the top of the order here in the bottom of the fifth. Dickerson, Realmuto, and Harper. Hey. Speaking of the height, and we talked about Stroman being 5'7". I've always felt, just kind of anecdotally, Alex, there's a little bit of a bias against pitchers of his size. I think Marcus would probably agree with that. Is there anything to that? Is that a founded bias, or are we just looking for the next great, huge Hulk?
Stroman had a lot of success towards me. I never picked up the ball really well off of him. The sinker ball got on me. The slider, I didn't see it. I took a lot of swings like Bryce Harper did today. But for the most part, I'm a big fan of really tall pitchers. 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". And the reason why is simply that pitcher is...
Oh! It took a great play by Alonso to rob Dickerson of a third hit tonight.
If you have a pitcher that's 6'7" versus 5'7", you're basically buying yourself an extra several feet, almost an extra yard to see the ball that much longer. Historically, when you look at the big number ones, whether it's Roger Clemens, the Andy Pettis, the Bob Gibsons, the Dwight Goodens, Tom Seaver, they're really tall, really big guys and strong. And that's nothing against Marcus Stroman, because I think he does a fantastic job. But when you think about horses, you want the horse to be big and strong.
Well, and you made an excellent point in the difference of a foot. And when you say you're a fan of taller pitchers, not as a hitter is what you're saying you're a fan of, but just as far as them being successful, because that difference in when they release the ball and it gets to home plate.
That's right.
One gone for JT Realmuto, who, in going 0 for his first 2 tonight, is now hitless in his last 10 plate appearances. He'd love to set the table for that man, Bryce Harper, waiting next.
It is cool too, though. I think about Major League Baseball, and what makes it so unique is you do have a guy tonight 5'7", and on the other end, Zach Eflin's 6'6". That's
right.
So the difference of almost a foot, and yet both having success tonight.
I played with a guy, Randy Johnson, who's 6'10", 6'11". And it felt like if you were hitting, like he was almost like putting the ball, and he can almost touch you with his fingertips. And you just did not get a good look at that. You also did not feel comfortable against a guy that tall.
Here's another dated Oakland A's reference for you, Jess. When Jim Bibby no-hit the A's in the early 70s, Sal Bando tells the story of he was so tall, he was 6'5", the late Jim Bibby. He was so tall on that night you could see the hair on the back of his knuckles as he was snapping off his curveball, because he was that long and close to home plate, to Alex's point. Anyway, go about your business.
It's an intimidating sight. By the way, the Mets had another shorter guy who threw gas, and his name was Billy Wagner, and he closed.
Yeah.
And he was throwing, rushing it up there about 100 miles an hour. Just because you're small doesn't mean you can't be great.
Best pitcher in the history of our sport, softball, is a 5'6" Lisa Fernandez. And she was told at a young age she would never be able to pitch because you have the 6-foot Jenny Finches and Cat Ostermans.
What's her name?
Lisa Fernandez. Best pitcher we've ever had, and she was short.
And there's ball 4 to Realmuto. So the table is set in part for Bryce Harper. And now the challenge for Bryce, try to find something to swing at. StatCast AI powered by AWS. Only Peter Alonso sees a lower percentage of pitches for strikes than Bryce Harper this season.
Manny, you take that first at bat where they threw him 3 balls and he struck out in 3 pitches. You know, a lot of that is if you lay off your pitches, if you don't go fishing, you're going to induce pitchers to come into your strike zone. You hurt them. If not, you pass the baton and go to first.
Sitting on an 8-game hitting streak and 97 RBIs this season. Trying to become the first Philly to 100 RBIs in a season since Ryan Howard in 2011.
This is the best sinker that you'll see when Stroman throws it well. 93 miles an hour, that run away from the body of Bryce Harper.
That's the 4th swing and miss already in this game, and we're not even halfway through. That just tells you Bryce Harper is not seeing the ball very well off Stroman.
Oh, and 2. Well, there's a little additional intel behind the plate because Wilson Ramos and Bryce Harper, former teammates in D.C. And perhaps there's some institutional knowledge there for Wilson in how he wants Bryce handled.
And he can do pretty much whatever he wants. He's looked bad on the sinker. He's looked bad on the slider. Slider, back foot could be a good pitch here.
Oh, 2 pitches again fouled away. Were you guys surprised to hear, as I was, that the Phillies have not had a 100 RBI guy since Ryan Howard in 2011?
Indeed.
It's a long time.
Every team in baseball has had a 100 RBI guy except for Tampa.
In this ballpark, too, right? I mean, you figure this is a ballpark that's going to foster that type of production.
Yeah.
But it's also surprising that the great Bryce Harper's only had 1 season with 100 RBIs.
They'll go down and away on him again and miss out there. A ball and 2 strikes. Hoskins next with 1 out and 1 on. It's a ball and 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. If we were to kind of pick at Bryce's line this year, and he's had a very good season in his first year in Philadelphia. I'm sure one of the places where he'd like to improve is against the non-fastball. He will wear you out on a fastball, especially a fastball for a strike. That's popped up behind the plate. Ramos hoping for a play to his avail. Let's go back to the start of last year. Fastballs, the numbers are very good. Against everything else, not so much.
And that's why he's seen a heavy dose of sliders. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, one of Marcus Stroman's pitches that he doesn't throw a lot of is the curveball. This would be the bat to do it.
Yeah, you know, and just when you're Bryce Harper, in fairness to Bryce, you're going to get the pitcher's best fastball, his best slider, his best curveball, and, you know, the lights come on, the bright lights come on, and a guy that throws 92 all of a sudden is throwing 95, 96.
Two balls and 2 strikes. And he got him again. In there again, in the same spot. Boy, Stroman has really tied up Harper inside tonight.
3 at-bats, already 5 are swing and misses. It's time to cutter. 91 miles an hour. And a good one. Late breaking, explosive. Bryce Harper not seeing the ball well off Stroman.
So here's Hoskins now with 2 away, and Real Muto still at first. Hoskins started with a strike.
One of the things Hoskins has been working on is trying to be a little bit more upright. He told me at the batting cage before the game, watch my feet, they'll be a lot more narrow. I'm not going to be as wide, and part of that's to just try to get more on line with the ball. Big launch angle guy. In fact, he has the highest, your guys' favorite word in the world, but he's got the highest in all of baseball. So he's a guy that will get underneath the baseball. But what he's been working on more now is just trying to get more on top, finding that happy medium.
I love this guy's approach. I think he's a professional hitter. He does so many things well. He takes pitches, he walks, he hits with power, he hits the ball all over the place. Good guy in the clubhouse.
He's also seen more pitches than any player in baseball this year. He averages almost 5 pitches per plate appearance, which might not sound like a lot, but when you total it all up, he is usually good for at least wearing down a starter, if not knocking him out. 2 balls and a strike to him.
He's also a guy that's going to have mature at-bats. You can trust him down the stretch. He's not going to be a chase guy. And he has the great responsibility in this franchise to protect the great Bryce Harper. And if you take him away from this team, like yesterday he got thrown out, and we talked about it earlier, it changes the complexion of the entire team, because now Kapler has to put 3 lefties in a row.
And Hoskins bounces it to shortstop for Rosario. Nothing comes of the 1-out walk. We're through 5. Pete Alonso bats second when we go to the 6th, and a still 2-1 Philly lead.
Here's a ground ball right side, could do it. The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history. And building to this moment, world champions.
Out on the run is Liriano, and he makes the catch. An amazing catch. Sails the throw back to first base, and this is in time on the fly from Ramon Laureano. Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the one. He's going to be held to a double. He's trying for 3. He's going to do it. Get down. He's in there.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got him! It's finally happened! A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner! It was done by the King!
Bugsy flies one in the air to left center. Back at the wall, and it's gone! It's over! A walk-off home run to win Game 3.
Hours here in Philly. The Reds and Cardinals playing the second game of their doubleheader. Top of the 5th inning, Nick Senzel led off with a solo shot off Daniel Ponce de Leon, and that tied the game at 3. Cardinals trying to take them both in a doubleheader on this Sunday. Hey, there's lots more baseball coming up on ESPN, including a holiday doubleheader tomorrow on Labor Day, with the Rangers visiting the Yankees at 1 Eastern. Then it's the Astros and Brewers as the nightcap. A week from tonight, Jess Buster, Alex, and I are in Boston for the Yankees and Red Sox. Special start time at 8 p.m. following the U.S. Open men's final. Baseball tonight starts tonight at 7 Eastern here on ESPN. How rare is it, by the way, for 2 teams to play doubleheaders on back-to-back days? Cardinals and Reds doing it this weekend, and it was the first time since 2006. Jeff McNeil leads things off, ever aggressive on the first pitch.
And there's one away in the 6th.
And with Pete Alonso, it's all about power and compact. And we'll show you here 3 things to look for. Is the back knee going straight down to the ground. Right knee, straight down, hitting against the front side, very firm, head still, and then the bat always stays on plane, never hooks. And like a good hitter and like a good golfer, clips it, and it goes. 6'3", 245.
Alonso gets a call on a pitch on the border of the strike zone, and it's 0-1 to Big Pete. A homer and a single tonight. He's extended his consecutive game streak of reaching base to 27. And is now behind 0-2.
He's been all over everything inside, and that was something he talked to us yesterday, was just his approach on a lot of these guys. He said same thing Friday night with Aaron Nola, who's a guy who will come in with that 2-seam, and tonight with Eflin. He did say he was going to kind of try to crowd the plate and take it away, but it seems more like he's given that distance and just being more ready for it.
I don't know that Zach Eflin, at least it hasn't looked tonight like he has anything to put him away, because Alonso's been very comfortable. As you can see, he's comfortable against everybody in that hair, that crosshair, that swatch section of the strike zone. Got to work him on the corners. It's like the old man in the shower shoes that came out to visit Cole Hamels in that New Era commercial. Come on, Cole, work the corners. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. I mean, he's on everything.
Well, because he's so strong, there's so much trust. I mean, technically he's beat on that last foul ball, but look at his lower half be gone, but then his upper half stay with it enough to spoil it.
I mean, that's a guy that has 43 home runs, folks. But he's a hitter first with power.
Oh, they almost had him put away there, and he's still able to foul off a piece of it, even though Zach's missed with location that time.
I think almost hit the ground.
Now, what Eflin told us yesterday was there are times, Jess, you remember he said he would elevate his fastball if he had a chance maybe late in the count.
Seeing exactly where Alonso is able to foul off. Might not be a bad time now.
Oh, mistake. Oh, my goodness. Into left center field, and it holds up for Dickerson. Man, that was just too fat a strike with a 2-strike count.
Well, that had 44 written all over it. Oh, may have been helped with some wind up there, but fastball center cut. Even better pitch than the first pitch in the home run. And just missed it. Great swing, balance, head down and behind the baseball.
Did you guys see Eflin's reaction? Hands right on his knees. He thought it was gone.
He and about 37,000 other people. A ball and no strikes to Michael Conforto, who has lined to left and grounded into a double play tonight. Conforto's had a really nice weekend before tonight, that is. 5 for 9 with a couple of doubles and a homer. Going back farther, he's hit safely in 7 in a row. He sends one to shallow left. Dickerson was back, and he recovers to make a sliding inning-ending catch.
Dickerson a long way to go to get this one. Makes a grab and left.
Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike 3, it's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship. They win the World Series 4 games to 1. Can you believe it?
He's just keeping the ball away from Bohr the whole game. He wants to get it. There, ball behind the back flip, and he got him! Oh, wow! Oh, my gosh.
inside the move. He's not going to get it. And it rolls off the side wall, and they're going to wave home Kendrick. The throw to the plate is there, and they got it. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. Sox one out to center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes deep in his first at bat as a New York Met.
Looking for hit number 1 from Franchi Cordero.
He's stuck it now. The Dodgers have thrown a combined no-hitter.
And on the 13th and final strikeout of the game.
The fans are on their feet. Now, the only man in between Paxton and the history books, a former American League MVP, Josh Donaldson. To Seager, the pick, the...
MLB on social media. You should be. Follow MLB on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Still a 2-1 lead for the Phillies as they dig in the 6th. They'll send Brad Miller, Cesar Hernandez, and Scott Kingery to the plate. No damage against Marcus Stroman since the 2 runs in the 2nd. They came on a Miller homer and a Corey Dickerson RBI single. On the corner to make it 1-1. First time anybody's bullpen has been busy tonight. The veteran left-hander Luis Avilan is up.
One of the lowest ERA in the majors since the All-Star break. Matt, you touched on how good their starting pitching has been, but the bullpen is much improved.
Again on the corner to ring up Miller. The first time Stroman has retired Brad Miller tonight.
It's a nice job of the 2-seam on the front hip. See it start inside and then kind of leap back over the plate. Brad Miller sees it as a ball, and then as it comes back over, oh, maybe? Close.
And as a hitter, it's confusing because he threw the same exact pitch to Bryce Harper for strike 3, except it was a cutter. So he's using the X in there, coming into you, away from you. Very effective.
Here's Cesar Hernandez now 0 for 2 tonight. Hernandez has hit safely in 14 of his last 15 games against the Mets. Something about this rivalry brings out the best in Hernandez. Chopper right to the shifted defense. And that'll bring up Scott Kingery, who's wearing a microphone for us tonight.
Go ball, disappear. Yeah! That ball's hit hard. I just gotta go right by my ear. Hey.
Scott would be real happy if this were to become a Teddy Roosevelt type night for him. Speak softly, but carry a big stick. He has singled and scored so far tonight.
It's cool to be able to have the access. You see the mic right there on his jersey. Whether he's loud or not, just hearing from players within the game.
Quickly behind 0-2.
And for Stroman, last time he went past the 7th inning, mid-April game. Tonight has 5 strikeouts and 5 ground balls.
So it's kind of turned into one of those Marcus Stroman nights after not starting out that way at all. Oh, this is certainly an encouraging sign and an encouraging night for Stroman and for the Mets, who need this Marcus Stroman down the stretch if they're going to make up that ground in the wild card race. And let's face it, for both of these teams, the Mets and Phillies, there are a lot of teams to try to hurdle over in that pursuit. Stroman gets the swing and miss on Kingery and gets the side in order in the 6th. On to inning number 7 in a still 2-1 Philly lead.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it.
Here's the pitch. Swinging a hard hit ball inside third, base hit down the left field line. Mazzara gets the third. Adrian going to second. He's got a double for 3,000.
And he swings and drives one left center field deep. Hernandez back at the wall. Goodbye. Home run. Steve Pearce.
High fly ball into left. Back at the wall. He's got another. How about Steve Pearce?
Deep to left field. This ball's high. It's deep. Number 600 for Jim Thome. Welcome to the 600 Club.
Very nice, Jim Thome. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career. 2 on, 2 out. 10th inning. That's in the air to left. Here comes Fisher. Throw by Ethier. Astros win it. In time.
9:49 now in Atlanta, 6:49 in Arizona, and a 2-2 to Perez. Swing and a miss, and Randy Johnson has thrown a perfect game. That is absolutely clobbered. Good gosh, where is that going to land? Oh my, what a bomb! Testing the
ESPN's telecast of Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by Gillette, the best a man can get. And Infinity, empower the drive. Empower the boiler of the Fanatic. Legendary boiler. Wilson Ramos having extended the league's long hitting streak, active that is, to 25 earlier tonight. We'll lead things off in the 7th inning for the visiting Mets, down a run. Ramos, Panic, and Rosario.
Manny, to think that Ramos at 35 and Ted Williams, his longest streak was 23 games. Too many walks.
Ted Williams' longest streak was 23?
23.
Wow.
He's not even top 12 in the history in streaks. I mean, here's a guy who walked a lot. One season he got on base 84 games in a row. That season he walked 162 times and hit about 343.
That's chopped to Hernandez at second. 8 in a row retired by Zach Eflin, as we remind you that MLB TV is now available at a lower price. Just $26.99 to watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. You get access to MLB At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. 1 month left in the regular season. Great time to act on MLB TV. One gone for Joe Panic. Panic is lined to center and walk tonight. The walk came on a 3-2 pitch. And he is the hardest batter in the National League to strike out this year. And there's a rocket for Hoskins. There are 2 gone.
Nice play by Hoskins at first base, but for tonight, Zach Eflin, just the 3 hits he's given up to Mets hitters, utilizing all of his pitches. The sinker jamming a lot of right-handed batters away. That run he's gotten the left-handed hitters, that arm side run that he will get on that pitch, and then it's been the slider Get the Frazier strikeout, a half swing to Conforto on the changeup, and then the curveball. Getting again Todd Frazier.
Budweiser pitching summary for Zach Eflin as he attempts to complete 7 innings tonight. He has gone more than 6 innings in his start on only 3 occasions this year. So this is shaping up to be one of his best efforts of the year. And the 0-1 pitch to Ahmed Rosario's line softly to Dickerson. 10 in a row retired by Zach Eflin. 7th inning stretch. Phillies by a run.
Now a 3-1 for Acuna. Swinging a high fly ball. Deep to left field. Way back. It's gone! The grandest of all home runs.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
2-0 pitch. Swinging. There it is. Here comes Osmus. The score is tied. Mitch wants to make it a double. He didn't get the trademark, but he did get 3,000 hits.
Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got him! It's finally happened! A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner! It was done by the King!
Out on the run is Liriano, and he makes the catch! An amazing catch! Sails the throw back to first base, and this is in time! On the fly from Ramon Liriano!
Here's a ground ball right side, could do it. The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history. And building to this moment, world champions. High fly ball out into center. Way out of here.
Oh, Boggle, my goodness.
In the air to deep left field.
Some of the cliff notes on a 2-1 lead for the Phillies as we get you out of the 7th inning stretch to the bottom of the inning. Let's take a look at our Geico game track tonight. The Mets got on the board first on the Pete Alonso solo homer, 1 out into the game. 2 in the second for the Phillies, and that's held up. Brad Miller's solo shot, Corey Dickerson's RBI single. And it'll be the bottom of the order here in the 7th against Marcus Stroman. Adam Hazley, then the pitcher's spot, then Dickerson, and it would appear that despite a dominant night, Zach Eflin's night is done because there's a pinch hitter waiting on deck to bat in his spot.
And why mess with a good thing? I mean, he is breezing, he's attacking hitters, and I'm sure analytics is going to tell you it's time to take him out. But he looks good, he looks strong. as you see a double right here. And Eflin should be bunting him over to third base.
And a ball that gets away in the corner from McNeil that does not amount to an extra base. It's not going to be Eflin, though. They're going to stick with their plan to pinch hit.
And you see the double, and it's tailor-made for Gabe Kapler right now to keep Eflin in the game, bunt him over to third base, make this game 3-1 with only 84 pitches. If a singer is hitting all his notes, keep him on stage. Do not take him out. Watch the game.
Especially because one of the biggest weaknesses for the Phillies has been the bullpen. In fact, 10 runs that were scored by the Mets on Friday night came in the last 2 innings.
Yeah, I would imagine that the pinch hitter has been announced because here comes Mickey Callaway to make his change. And Marcus Stroman's night is through. So Jay Bruce, who was just activated, will have to hang around to wait to see who his opponent will be. A pitching change, our first of the night. And we'll be right back.
The fans are on their feet. Now the only man in between Paxton and the history books, a former American League MVP, Josh Donaldson. To Seager, the pick, the throw. Paxton has done it. It's a no-hitter.
Looking for hit number 1 from Franchi Cordero.
He struck him out. The Dodgers have thrown a combined no-hitter.
And on the 13th and final strikeout of the game.
2 home runs tonight. I'd like to see a hat trick. I don't know about you. Goldschmidt, high drive, out to left. You bet he's done it! 3 home runs!
He's just keeping the ball away from Bohr the whole game. He wants to get it. There, ball
Behind the back flip, and he got him! Oh, wow!
Oh, my gosh. 1-0 looking for a fastball.
In the air, right center field. The first one in the Phillies uniform is a bomb into the second deck for Bryce Harper. The Phils lead it 7-4.
Malone looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one. Deep left field. That goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened.
Presented by Capital One, coming up tomorrow, 8 Eastern for number 9 Notre Dame, opening the 2019 season on the road at Louisville. Tomorrow, 8 Eastern, right here on ESPN, and as always, streaming live on the ESPN app. So our first pitching change of the night brings the veteran left-hander Luis Avilan, who will be appearing in back-to-back games this weekend.
That .55 ERA since the All-Star break, the lowest in the majors for a relief pitcher. He's only allowed 1 run in his last 22 games. Sinker, changeup, curveball.
And Jay Bruce has struggled against him in the past, 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts. I was just getting ready to say that, Buster, and was also just getting ready to say that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I was about to say Jay Bruce will be pulled back for a right-handed bat, but that is not the case. Bruce is being allowed to pinch hit anyway. So not only is Zach Eflin not allowed to continue and try to sacrifice the runner, you're going to leave the left-handed pinch hitter in, who was just re-added to the rosters with expansion on this first day of September. And Bruce takes a strike. It was a left flexor strain that landed Bruce on the IL for about a month. The last 3+ weeks of August. He had a little bit of time, rehab time at Double-A Reading.
And I think it was a good time for Marcus Stroman to also come out of the game. Obviously giving up the double, but he had a career-high swing and misses tonight, 18, and that's something he can build on going into September and the rest of his starts.
Indeed, and for the Phillies, they had the same situation here in the first inning. Real Muto could not get him over to third base for Harper. I just love the bunt here. I love getting them over to third base, making the game 3-1. You always want even leads versus odd leads. Why? The solo home run doesn't tie it, and the grand slam does not beat you. Keep it simple.
Ball and 2 strikes on Bruce. He puts it in play and does advance the runner. Jay Bruce doing a fine job. Boy, he is just trying to make contact there to the right side and move his man, which he did. And now the Phillies do have a runner at third with 1 gone. Time for the Corona Premier moment. And this man, Corey Dickerson, responsible for a big night. Double leading off the bottom of the first. Drove in the Phillies' second run with a second inning single. And added a fine catch to boot.
You talk about an example of a player, Matty, that has completely changed the way he is as a hitter. When he was with Tampa, he had 27 home runs, 152 strikeouts in one season. Now he's got 9 home runs and 43. I mean, more of a contact guy. Will still get a hold of one, but you'll see him just understand the count, understand the pitcher, and be able to be more of a slap hitter when needed. And then when he knows he's going to get something to drive, he can do that too.
Indeed, much improved and a great at-bat. Not a good at-bat, a great at-bat by Jay Bruce. Fighting with 2 strikes, hitting the slider and rolling it over, forcing the Mets infield to come in.
On the ground for Alonso. That keeps the runner in check, and there are 2 away.
Good pitch here, a little 84-mile-an-hour cement mixer, and a nice play here by Alonso. Coming to get it, good hands, keeping that runner at third base.
He did not want to take his eyes off of him either. You see him just stay square to him and backpedal to first. So at no point was he going to turn his body.
So with the right-handed hitting JT Realmuto scheduled, the Mets will go back to their bullpen for the second time this inning. Paul Sewald called on with a runner at third and 2 away. We'll be right back.
Deep to left field. This ball's high. It's deep. Number 600 for Jim Thome. Welcome to the 600 Club.
Very nice, Jim Thome.
That's number 30. Where will this one land? Come close again. Are you kidding me? Those aren't just home runs. Those are moon shots.
2 on, 2 out. 10th inning. That's in the air to left. Here comes Fisher. Throw by Ethier. Astros win it in 10.
Rivera sets and deals. Strike 3, ball game over. Yankees win. The greatest closer in history now has the most saves in history.
Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike 3, it's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship. They win the World Series 4 games to 1. Can you believe it?
Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. Sox one out to center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes deep in his first at bat as a New York Met.
Next visit to your favorite park. Buy and manage game tickets. Redeem special check-in offers. Access exclusive content and more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today. Second pitching change of the inning for the Mets, and it'll be Paul Sewald on in relief to go to work on JT Realmuto.
He's had a lot of success against lefties and righties, but righties batting a .182, which is why he's in against a big righty, JT Realmuto. Fastball, his go-to is that slider.
Bryce Harper waiting on deck. And if it gets that far, we'll likely see another change as Sewald throws a first pitch strike to Realmuto, who is hitless tonight, 0 for 2. He did draw a 5th inning walk. The run out there, the responsibility of Marcus Stroman, who exits in a 2-1 deficit. Sewald working quickly and in front of Realmuto now. A ball and 2 strikes.
The converted shortstop to catcher talked about how his sister Ryan was a huge influence. She was a catcher at Oklahoma State. How that was like his first phone call. He found out that he'd be switching from shortstop to catcher, and of course now one of the best catchers in the game.
Ball and 2 strikes with a runner at third and 2 gone. Well, the Phillies have had their opportunities the last couple nights in situations like this one. Remember, this inning started with a double. Philadelphia's just 3 for their last 18 with runners in scoring position, and 2 for 9 tonight, as you can see. And Realmuto sends a ball to deep right center field. Lagar is there for it, however, to retire the side. And the Mets are able to hold. Leadoff double left stranded. We go to the top of the 8th in a still 1-run game.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it.
Now a 3-1 for Acuna. Swinging a high fly ball deep to left field. Way, way back. It's gone. The grandest of all home runs.
Here's a ground ball right side, could do it. The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history. And building to this moment, world champions. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career.
And he swings and drives one left center field deep. Hernandez back at the wall. Goodbye. Home run, Steve Pearce.
High fly ball into left. Back at the wall. He's got another. How about Steve Pearce?
Center. Way out of here.
Oh, Boggle, my goodness.
Muncy flies one in the air to left center. Back at the wall, and it's gone. It's over. A walk-off home run to win Game 3.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David.
Ball is presented by Taco Bell. Well, a homer by Pete Alonso started the scoring. A game-tying homer by Brad Miller came an inning later. One more and an RBI by Corey Dickerson. It's been enough to hold on to. So the Phillies into the bullpen for the first time tonight for right-hander Mike Morin.
He has a 3.98 ERA on the season, but he has struggled against the Mets in his one appearance this year. 4 earned runs at only a third of an inning.
At came on Friday night. Frazier, Lagares, and Stroman, or Stroman's spot, that is, the pitcher spot here in the 8th for New York.
And the Mets happy Eflin's down in the clubhouse.
Zach Eflin removed after 84 pitches in a dominant night. And here's Frazier with the leadoff base hit against the bullpen. So we mentioned there's another game in progress, and it's the second game of the doubleheader between the Reds and the Cardinals. Top of the 6th with Mike Myers on the mound in a 4-3 Reds lead. Phillip Ervin leads off with a solo shot. And it's 5-3 Reds late in game 2 in the top of the 7th. Again, St. Louis trying to take them both, as the Cardinals lead in the Central was at 3.5 at the start of that second game. Cubs were losers in Milwaukee today. Washington winning big in Miami. And there's a pinch runner at first for Todd Frazier. Rajay Davis. And a pinch hitter for Juan Lagares. It'll be Brandon Nimmo.
Davis, one of the most aggressive runners. Expect him to run in the first pitch or two.
First game activity at the big league level for Brandon Nimmo since May 20th. A neck injury had him on the IL and then in a rehab stint. Back up as rosters expand today. Boy, he had been in the throes of a terrible slump around the time he landed on the shelf, and would love to salvage his season with a strong finish starting tonight. And that one bounces away from Real Muto. Davis around second, where he'll put on the brakes.
And just one Real Muto like to get back, looking for the sinker away and just cut it all the way across. Tough play.
Might have been a cross-up just based on where Real Muto was set up and where that pitch ended up. Set it away, cuts way inside.
Not even a former shortstop can catch that.
Ball and a strike to count to Brandon Nimmo. Two and two.
Nimmo with so many big hits last year for the Mets. This would be one big time return if he can come up with a big hit here for the Mets.
Hector Neris is up in the bullpen for the Phillies. You just wonder if that bullpen gate didn't swing open an inning too early. Two balls and two strikes. And it'll be a full count to Brandon Nimmo. Regarded as one of the more patient Met hitters the last couple of years. In fact, that had gotten to the point where in the spring, some of the messaging to Brandon was they'd like him to be a little bit more aggressive. There's a fine line between selective and passive, and they felt at a moment like Brandon was crossing over there. Saw J.D. Davis, who awaits a pinch hit next. And it's still a full count. Neither one of these teams has had a lot of consistency with their bullpen. The Phillies' opening day bullpen has virtually disappeared due to injuries. The Mets have had to deal with a lot of the same inconsistency this year. So another full count pitch on its way to Nimmo. And there's ball 4. First and second, nobody out.
The minute Eflin came out of this game, the Mets got energized. The body language changed. The confidence changed. And then you see Kapler looking for some more help in that struggling bullpen. You wonder, with 84 pitches, why not give him a little bit more room?
Especially it was 1, 2, 3 that last inning, and we showed him dealing with his 2-seam, but also his slider, Alex, his changeup and his curveball. He had 4 pitches working. Now he could have come out in the 8th and given up a hit, given up some, but then you go to the bullpen.
So we had seen J.D. Davis on deck to pinch hit. Instead, it's Luis Guillorme.
Should be a bunt here.
First and second, nobody out. Guillorme bunting indeed, and it's a doozy. Judge gets down a perfect sacrifice bunt. And now the Mets are in business.
Little 1986 Wally Bagman Met baseball. Small ball, perfectly putting the ball to the third baseman, not trying to do too much. Now the Mets are set up. They're in business.
And we're going to have another Phillies pitching change. So Hector Neris will inherit a sticky mess with runners at second and third and 1 away, nursing a 1-run lead.
In the air, right center field. The first one in the Phillies uniform is a bomb into the second deck for Bryce Harper. The Phils lead it 7-4.
Malone looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened.
Line drive back up the middle, base hit for Christian Yelich. Deep down the right field line and gone.
And Yelich comes through again.
It's a cycle for Christian Yelich.
That is absolutely clobbered. Good gosh, where is that going to land? Oh my, what a bomb. Testing the limits of Safeco Field.
2-0 pitch. Swinging. There it is. Here comes Osmus. The start and tied. Mitch wants to make it a double. He didn't get the trademark, but he did get 3,000 hits.
He's just keeping the ball away from Bohr the whole game. He wants to get it. There, ball
Behind the back flip, and he got him. Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Cespedes on the move. He's not going to get it. And it rolls off the side wall, and they're going to wave home Kendrick. The throw to the plate is there.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
they got it. Are you kidding me? Wow. Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got it! It's finally happened! A perfect game by
Ultimate MLB squad in RBI Baseball 19. It delivers a genuine MLB experience with the ability to manage your franchise across multiple seasons. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone.
And there's a conversation right here. 2+ runners for the Mets. Neris on the mound, 70% split finger. He's telling those guys, hey, if it's on the dirt, anticipate it, we can steal a cheap run right here.
Hector Neris has been one of the better pitchers out of the Phillies bullpen. He's only given up the 1 earned run and 18 strikeouts over the last 15 appearances. And Alex, you mentioned he's got a dirty split finger.
See if Jeff McNeil is up there first pitch hacking as he is generally. Yes, indeed. A swing and a miss at a splitter. And it's 0-1.
And if he gets 10 pitches, 9 of them will be split. If you're Roger Davis, you got to be thinking, anticipating split in the dirt.
Pete Alonso waiting next. Neris is particularly tough with runners in scoring position. Opponents average of just 167 in situations like this. But here's the rub on this appearance for Neris. His last outing came on Tuesday, and with 5+ days of rest, 5 or more that is, he has allowed a total of 4 earned runs in 4 innings. Guys that throw that splitter will tell you it's a field pitch just as much as anything.
And a filthy split finger right here. And Matty, feel indeed, the more you throw it, the better you get. Roger Davis right now will be going on contact, meaning any ball that is put in play, he's moving, so is Nimmo trailing him. Imperative to put the ball in play.
Again, the infield in for Philadelphia. And McNeil puts it in play. Hoskins comes home, and they get the out at the plate. We're pretty sure they got the out at the plate. Joe hasn't made the signal yet because Rajai Davis came in sliding.
Joe Davis with
and he's out.
Yeah, and the tackle. As we talked about going on contact. Hard hit, nice throw, nice play for the Phillies.
Joe was staying in there as long as he could to make sure he saw the play. And Rajai Davis in trying to avoid the tag.
He's getting leaned on.
And the Cowboy with a tackle. We showed his football highlights earlier.
I think Rajai was worried if he moved, Joe West was going to face plant. He was using his body to lean on.
And Joe Davis, I mean, the Cowboy loves every minute of it. He loves it out there. He looks like he's mad, but he loves it more than anybody.
So runners at the corners with 2 gone in what will be the biggest plate appearance of the ball game so far. Here's Alonso. His homer, the only Mets run of the night. He was swinging for the 3-run shot there.
It just shows you how good the split is, because Neris makes this pitch look like a strike for so long. And then it's not until Alonso decides to commit that pitch does its true movement down.
And if you're Nimmo at third base again, split finger is how he wants to get Alonso out. Anticipate a wild pitch, and you might steal a cheap run here inside the game.
Tried to check it, they appeal, and did not swing the bat. 2 balls and a strike. I got check swing here. You 2 hitters, what do you think?
I think if he makes contact, it's a double in the gap, and that's just pure strength.
Oh, man.
Good check.
I guess. I don't know.
Good check.
You got to know the hitter.
Oh, 3 balls and a strike. And that was almost your through the wickets cheap run, Alex.
That's right. And if you're Neris, you have to be able to manage the situation. It's a 3-1 count. I know you don't have the right base empty. Nevertheless, you do have a base empty. A second base. Is your pitch or Alonso, you're the hottest hitter in the National League, go to first and take your chances with Conforto. and this should be a split finger again.
The 3-1. And it's one, and it gets away at the plate. Here comes the tying run.
Boy, that went down just as you guessed it may, Alex. Split finger gets away at the plate, and it's a 2-2 score.
And we talked about it, just buried a fastball. The fear of Alonso forces Neris to overthrow a fastball, buries it. Nothing Real Muto can do, and the Mets tie the game 2-2.
Runners at first and second with a run in and 2 down. Strike one to Michael Conforto, who is hitless tonight. Oh, 0-2. And the strikeout ends the inning, not before the Mets can scratch across the tying run in the 8th. It was a Todd Frazier single that started it all. Bryce Harper leads off the bottom of the inning, a brand new narrative, all tied at 2.
Now a 3-1 for Acuna. Swinging a high fly ball. Deep to left field. Way, way back. It's gone! The grandest of all home runs.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third. And he's done it.
Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. Sox one out center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes deep in his first at bat as a New York Met.
That's number 30. Will this one come close again? Are you kidding me? Those aren't just home runs. Those are moon shots.
And they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man. Shoulder to the plate. And the plate, Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the one. He's going to be held to a double. He's trying for
8th in an out-tie game, and certainly the Phillies would prefer this plate appearance come with somebody on base. And you can see that the increasingly beneficial returns with runners on, with runners in scoring position. Bryce has been much better this year than in bases empty situations. But that's what he has as he leads off the 8th. And he will face a new pitcher, as the Mets have called on left-hander Daniel Zamora. Zamora making his 13th appearance of the year, an ERA in the middle 5s. One of the players added to the September recall roster. Most of his time spent at AAA Syracuse this year. So there's some experience against Bryce Harper for Zamora as you take a look at the changes behind him. Defensively, Brandon Nimmo stays in the game, plays center, Davis in left, and that moves Jeff McNeil to third as Todd Frazier, who was pinch run for, is rotated out. Harper lines to center, and the go-ahead runs aboard in the last of the 8th. Getting ready to talk about how Daniel Zamora's first ever major league plate appearance came against Bryce Harper, and he struck him out. Harper wins this battle.
Good hitting fastball in, not trying to do too much, inside out approach. Good hitting by the slugger Harper.
Another pitching change as Jeurys Familia will appear in back-to-back games in the series with Rhys Hoskins waiting on deck. We'll be right back.
The fans are on their feet.
Now the only man in between Paxton and the history books, a former American League MVP, Josh Donaldson.
To Seager, the pick, the throw. Paxton has done it. It's a no-hitter. In the air to deep left field for Tatis Jr. His first home run in the majors is a 2-run blast. There's contact, and then there's that.
Deep to left field. This ball's high. It's deep. Number 600 for Jim Thome. Welcome to the 600 Club.
Very nice, Jim Thome.
Flies one in the air to left center. Back at the wall, and it's gone! It's over! A walk-off home run to win Game 3.
Rivera sets and deals. Strike 3, ball game over. Yankees win. The greatest closer in history now has the most saves in history.
Here's the pitch. Swinging a hard hit ball inside third, base hit down the left field line. Mazzara gets to third. Adrian going to second. He's got a double for 3,000.
Plus, a free game every day. You can still download the app for the final month of the season. It's these Mets and the wild card leading Washington Nationals, one of the hottest teams in baseball. Tomorrow, 1 Eastern on ESPN Plus. Jeurys Familia worked in yesterday's Mets victory. He faced 2 batters. He's been terrific in his last couple of weeks' worth of baseball, and he will inherit a runner and nobody out in the last of the 8th.
See a sinker in the mid to upper 90s, slider off of that. One weakness with him in that run that you mentioned, Matt, though, has been the walks. 15 walks in the last 22 innings pitched.
Rhys Hoskins is singled in 3 trips to the plate tonight. Go ahead run at first with nobody out.
Harper can run on him too. Familia, a good guy to run, especially if he's focusing on Hoskins. You can steal a cheap bag, get yourself in scoring position.
Harper's stolen 9 bags in 12 attempts this year. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Conservative lead for Harper. 2 balls and no strikes. See the illustration. Once Harper gets to that green line or the go zone, he has an 85% chance of a successful bag. He's nowhere near it, and it's 3 balls and no strikes.
Generally, you would give Hoskins the green light 3-0. Like to see Familia force him to throw a strike right here.
Again, a conservative lead for Harper. 3-1. We mentioned a moment ago that the Mets play the Nationals tomorrow. So it's the night game tonight, the quick turnaround day game on the road tomorrow.
Taking the train to D.C. Got big Syndergaard on the mound tomorrow.
Phillies also have a day game tomorrow.
Cincinnati.
Very unusual turnaround for these 2 teams tonight. And that one bounces away at the plate. It's ball 4. Harper advances no further than second. And there are runners at first and second with nobody out. And you've got Brad Miller, who has homered and doubled tonight.
Back of the second inning, a hanging slider by Marcus Stroman broke this game open for the Phillies. Matty, you mentioned the inconsistencies of both these bullpens. And for the Mets, it hasn't been so much injury as much as it's been the stuff that's there, but just right now the walks for Familia.
Edwin Diaz, who has had his own share of trouble this year and his first as a Met. He's getting hot behind Familia as Phil Regan comes out for a visit.
Now, Matty, there's an interesting situation here. If you're Gabe Kapler and the Phillies, I know he homered Miller. He's already had 4 sacrifice bunts this year. You don't need a home run right now. What you need is to advance both runners. If you lay a bunt down, the Mets were successful. Let's be interesting to see what the Phillies do. For me, I would bunt.
Again, Miller was not in the original starting lineup tonight. The passing of Gene Segura's grandmother pressed him into duty. Segura is traveling to the Dominican Republic to be with family today. And the first pitch to Miller here is popped up and angling out of play.
Another reason why you want to bunt and not swing away. All you need is 1 run to win. You don't need a 3-run homer. The other thing, Familia is not exactly Stroman. He's not a gold glove winner out there. Put the ball in his hands and good things happen for the opposition. Don't overthink it. Bunt the ball.
Well, with a sinker ball pitcher, that's your ideal pitch to try to lay down.
High fly ball to center field. Nimmo backing up on it. Harper takes a look. He'll tag up. Throw into third base. He's not in time. Both runners advance on the fly ball to center field.
Yeah, about a 325 fly ball, just as effective as a bunt. Good running by Harper. Great running, the trail runner by Hoskins. Staying away from the double plays. You can anticipate a walk here to Hernandez.
Remember Brandon Nimmo, his first game back since May. I think he could have gotten even further behind that, Alex. I think he would have had a much better throw, much better shot of getting Harper out at third base. He kind of floated back with it, just making the catch, which obviously is the most important thing. But
so the intentional walk is issued to Cesar Hernandez, and that'll bring up Scott Kingery. Bases loaded with one gone. Harper at third represents the go-ahead run in a 2-2 tie here last of the 8th. In left center field, this will score at least 2. Harper scores. Here's Hoskins. Hernandez right behind him, and the Phillies have opened up a 3-run lead.
Kingery sees the same pitch twice in a row, a sinker right at the knees. He took it the first time. Familia goes right back, same location, and Kingery does a beautiful job staying down with this pitch after seeing it. Drives it for a bases clearing double.
And Kingery with the big hit, and Brad Miller with the assist. Getting those runners to second and third, forcing the Mets to walk Hernandez, creating a bases-loaded situation, and what could be a game-winning clearing double.
Still only one gone, and Adam Hazley looking for some insurance. Biggest lead of the night by either side.
The guys, before Cesar Hernandez scored the last run in that bases clearing double, you could see Gabe Kapler in the Phillies dugout basically running up to Hector Neris saying, "You got the 9th inning. You're still in."
I'm telling you, it is a different game for both of these teams, and they've each experienced it all year once it gets into the hands of the bullpen. It turns into a good old-fashioned dart throw sometimes. A bouncer to first. Nice play by Alonso, who gets it to Familia in time for the out, and there are 2 gone.
And there's a hit for himself, Buster, to your point. No batting gloves at all.
Well, here is Hector Neris, to Buster's point earlier. Batting in the pitcher's spot, and he will stick around and try to close it in the 9th. And he's not looking, as they say, hitterish.
Well, let me say what's not hitterish is he's got the George Foster hat under helmet with no batting gloves. This is like 1978. I love it.
3rd plate appearance in the big leagues.
Straight up taking first pitch. Like, didn't even stay in the batter's box.
I haven't seen a hat on their helmet in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, look, hey, there's a long list of Philly greats that used to wear the hat under the helmet. Like the Big McBride, Gary Matthews. You're right, it's all pretty much 70s and 80s guys.
Laughing because he hasn't even...
He might get on base.
He thought about swinging. No.
Oh, Familia got a call there. That's a ball outside. He has no intention of swinging the bat.
He's got a strike now. Let's see if he mixes in a swing. This tells you a lot about Jeurys Familia right now, too. I mean, he knows that Neris isn't even swinging, and his inability to find the strike zone, even now, with the pitcher up to bat.
The 3-1. The inning started with the Bryce Harper single. Hoskins walked. With one away, Hernandez was intentionally walked. Kingery cleared the bases with a double. And Familia rings him up. The damage done. Scott Kingery steps up big late for the Phillies tonight. And they take a 5-2 lead to the ninth.
And the pitch on the way. Bodie drives one in the air. Deep center field. Back goes Taylor. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam. A grand slam for David Bodie. And the Cubs have won the ball game.
Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the one. He's going to be held to a double. He's trying for three. He's going to do it. Get down. He's in there.
Looking for hit number one from Franchi Cordero.
He struck him out. The Dodgers have thrown a combined no-hitter.
And on the 13th and final strikeout of the game.
Cespedes decided to move. He's not going to get it. And it rolls off the side wall, and they're going to wave home Kendrick. The throw to the plate is there, and they got it. Are you kidding me? Wow.
2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Verlander has done it again. The second no-hitter in his young career.
Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got him! It's finally happened! A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner! It was done by the King!
Fly ball out into center. Way out of here.
Oh, Boggle, my goodness.
Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship. They win the World Series.
Right after the game tonight, he'll have everything on the 2019 Sooners debut. Big favorites as they take on Houston. Plus, hear from Justin Verlander on his third career no-hitter and how Sunday changed the wild card structure, or at least the picture, in Major League Baseball. Sports Center with SVP after the game, right here on ESPN and the ESPN app.
And man, it all turned sour for the Mets as soon as Joe West sat on Rajah Davis.
That is not incorrect.
Potentially 0-1 with Joe Davis on top.
Hector Neris will try to close out a win for the Phillies to avoid being swept by their division rivals. And it'll be Wilson Ramos to lead it off, followed by Panik and Rosario. Both starters were really good in this one. Zach Eflin in particular for the Phillies. Ramos rolls it up the middle. Johnny on the spot here late has been Scott Kingery. Sean Rodriguez is the new third baseman for the Phillies, taking over here late. One gone for Joe Panik. Well, the Mets had big aspirations after Friday's win. They got bigger after yesterday's win. This was a team that had lost 6 in a row heading into the game on Friday. They were 9 outs away from a 7th straight win. Todd Frazier hit a pair of 3-run homers Friday. They got a good start yesterday and a couple of big offensive performances. They were thinking sweep tonight. Try to improve their wild card stock. Everybody chasing the Nats and Cubs. Nats were winners today. Cubs losers to the Brewers. A ball and 2 strikes. We mentioned that Peter Alonso homered within about 2 minutes of Cody Bellinger's homer in Phoenix. So they remain tied at 43 each for the league lead. It seemed all of the home run leaders went deep tonight as the Mets are down to their final out this evening. SVP will have more on that on SportsCenter as soon as we're done here in Philly tonight. As Christian Yelich hit one, Eugenio Suarez went deep. Labor Day doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN. Rangers and Yankees at 1 Eastern, and the Astros and Brewers is the nightcap. And here's Ahmed Rosario representing the last chance for New York. Nasty split. Hector Neris not affected by the long plate appearance in the bottom of the 8th. A ball and 2 strikes to Rosario. Everybody on their feet at the bank tonight. Here's the 2-2. Stayed away from the split the last couple pitches. Let's see if it's coming here with a full count pitch. The 3-2. Got him swinging on the straight gas. Neris shuts down the 9th in order. The Phillies avoid being swept. And thanks to Scott Kingery's bases clearing double in the last of the 8th, Philadelphia earns a 5-2 win at home. The updated NL wildcard standings. Phillies gain a little ground on the Cubs. They trail Chicago for that second spot by only 2.5. Mets 4 out of the second wild card spot as September's underway, and with about 4 weeks of schedule left, we're in for a great finish in the National League wild card pursuit. For Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian saying so long from Philly. The home side wins at 5-2. It's time for SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. Thanks for watching. See you next week in Boston. SVP is up next.